From solar arrays to road paving, a new town manager, and familiar board members, there have been a lot of excitement and changes in Plymouth over the last year. Join us as we take a look back at all the major events from around the town. Welcome to This Year in Plymouth. Hello and welcome to This Year in Plymouth. I'm your host, Dan Salzer. The boards and town employees have been busy this past year. Kicking off this program, we're taking a look back at all the major topics and events from all of the board meetings. Finally, Town Manager Catherine Lowe announced that the Select Board will not be renewing her contract and that her current contract will end on January 14th, 2023.
I've worked for 5 town administrators, every one of which has had different strengths and management styles. I've also worked for many different select boards during this time. I've enjoyed my 25 years working for the town of Plymouth, and I'll miss the staff, department heads, and citizens of Plymouth. I'd like to say thank you to all of them for the support they've given me over my time here, and I wish for the continuation of many good things for this town. I know that even with the budget constraints, I've done my best to try to make Plymouth a better place, and hopefully I was able to make a difference in some small way.
Additionally, the Select Board will hold public forums for each of the 3 finalists for the town manager position. The forums will be held from 5 to 6 p.m. on Wednesday, October 19th for David Porter, Tuesday, October 25th for Scott Whedon.
I'm going to talk a little bit about a commitment to both excellence and efficiency.
First forum welcomed David Porter from Wisconsin.
First and foremost, I want to thank the board as well as the townsfolk for allowing me the opportunity to apply for the town manager's position.
Whedon is the current EMD, code enforcer, and building inspector for the town. Mr. Whedon presented and took questions from the public on a variety of topics about the town manager position and what he would do if he was chosen. With a third candidate backing out of the race, it's between David Porter and Scott Whedon as to who will be the new town manager for Plymouth. Some announcements for the town. Congratulations to Scott Whedon, who was selected to be the new town manager on October 31st. Whedon commented saying, quote, "I thank the town of Plymouth Select Board for selecting me, and I'm very excited for the opportunity to serve as Plymouth's town manager. I have always respected the Plymouth community and think it has a very promising future. I look forward to continuing to be a part of it." Whedon began his position as town manager on November 1st. Following the discussion, the board then moved on to discuss their site plan review regulations and their new plan that they've been working on over the last couple of months. After a lengthy discussion, the board announced that there will be 2 public hearings coming up to discuss the site plan regulations on Thursday, September 1st and Thursday, September 15th during their normal meeting time at 6:30. At this meeting, they hosted the first round of public hearings for the new and updated site plan review regulations that the board has been working on for the last several months. This past Thursday, the Plymouth Planning Board met at Town Hall and hosted 2 public hearings, one for the new site plan review regulations. The board voted to adopt the new regulations, and then followed up the discussion they had in the July meeting about the new zoning amendments. There were lots of things to discuss and a variety of zoning changes, which took up a bulk of the meeting time. Following that, the board entered a rather heated discussion regarding a proposal made by June Hammond Rowland and Joseph Perez for the zoning amendments for 2023.
I believe we are in the process, or staff is in the process of finalizing the language on those.
One thing just to sort of be aware of, and that has come to our attention, that deals with off-site parking areas.
I think we should table it.
And I think 300 has served us well for a number of years, and I think to throw this out right now, I think it's something we can wait on.
I personally don't see any downside to giving us more flexibility. So we have a motion and a second to bring this to public hearing. Okay, the motion is approved.
This past Thursday, the Plymouth Planning Board met and held the first of 2 public hearing sessions for the 2023 zoning amendments. One in particular drummed up a lot of conversation between the public and the board, which is the topic of off-site parking.
I don't think it's a good idea at all.
But this seems to be a little rushed.
This past Thursday, the Plymouth Planning Board held and hosted their second round of public hearings. The first big discussion was about the amendment to measuring the maximum height of buildings on Main Street.
Move this amendment forward. Are we ready for a vote? 4-3.
The major topic at the public hearing was the amendment to off-site parking.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the motion passes. It will be tabled.
The Select Board also received a CIP update from Bill Lamoureux, the head of the Capital Improvement Plan Committee.
This is a new process that we're doing this year.
So the capital improvement program is intended to provide the Select Board and the Budget Committee a long-term view of capital expenses.
The Plymouth Planning Board met at Town Hall and hosted 2 public hearings, and the other for the Capital Improvement Plan. And after receiving some comments from the public, also approved the new CIP. The CIP now heads to the Select Board for final approval. And June Hammond-Rowan gave an update on the South Main Street project.
The town had the bid opening for the downtown drainage project on September 15th. We received 3 bids, but however, we ran into a very unusual situation because we also had the bid opening concurrently with the water and sewer. It was discovered that the Plymouth Village Water and Sewers bid was in the envelope that had been dropped off at Town Hall. And the town's bid was actually in the envelope that was delivered to the Plymouth Village Water and Sewer Office.
I have to say it was very unfortunate that they screwed up their stupid envelopes. Jesus.
On Tuesday, the Selectman's office posted that the board is looking for new bids for both the downtown drainage improvements and also the Main Street water and sewer improvements. Following that discussion, the board also had to face a tough choice of potentially canceling the South Main Street project.
More recently, the second attempt at bidding the project came and the town only received 1 bid versus the 3 that are required. When this bid was opened, the town's cost beyond the $950,000 that we have went from an additional $500,000 to the town needing an additional $1.8 million. Plymouth Village Water Sewer Department has accepted all bids that they've received for the project and will be moving forward. We're looking for the board to approve adding to the warrant a warrant article looking for authorization for the board to issue bonds or notes the amount up to $1.8 million.
I'll make a motion that we put a warrant article out for the sum of 1.8.
All those in favor? Aye. That one's gonna be uncomfortable.
Yes, it is.
The second article was for the board to raise and appropriate funds for the downtown South Main Street drainage project in the total of $1.8 million.
Total overall infrastructure is completely failed.
I think it's a terrific project.
Following that, the board received updates from Anna Baer about the bond for the downtown drainage project. It was suggested that the board take up a 10-year bond instead of a 20-year, as it would save the town $500,000.
The board also approved a $1.8 million bond from Woodsville Guarantee Savings Bank.
Construction for the downtown Main Street projects is in its beginning phases, with temporary water bypass systems being set up north of the rotary on Main Street and on Old North Main Street this past week. The big item on the agenda was a public hearing regarding the updates about the South Main Street drainage project. June Hammond-Rowan conducted a presentation that talks about the scope of the project, some pricing, and the time frame for construction. The Select Board, alongside Jason Randall of the Plymouth Village Water and Sewer District and other representatives from the construction team, were also present to answer questions from the public. The board first met with Grace Garvey to discuss the solar finance model for the town.
If we were going to go this route, we should have that special hearing, secure pre-approval on a loan, have a locked-in rate so that we went to town meeting and we knew this is what we're talking about. We are going to discuss the Plymouth Energy Commission has a proposed solar array.
And when I heard about this opportunity, I really had to come and support this project.
This past Monday, the Select Board held a regular meeting, and it was an eventful meeting as well, with the board entering a heated discussion about choosing the next power supplier for the town and deciding to not continue forward with a solar array project.
What I'm hearing is that if what you're suggesting could be the case, then we should scrap the solar array project. We should sign a deal with People's Power Choice and get this rate. If this project's going to go forward, we've got to be able to confidently explain this to the taxpayers.
I'll make a motion to accept the People's Power Choice as our provider at the current market rate.
Just going to annotate that with we'd still love to see Let's figure out the array thing. This is not a, at least from my perspective, not a
rejection.
Not a rejection of the array.
Along with the budget, 2 warrant articles were also up for discussion that night. The first of the 2 articles was for the board to raise and appropriate funds for a solar array for $686,000.
So if we can get return on investment and to do something good to help our Earth to survive the pending warming of it, I think it's a win-win.
Town meeting was held this past Wednesday, March 15th, also in the elementary school gymnasium. This year, there were a total of 29 warrant articles up for a vote, and all 29 of them passed. The major articles passed included the solar array project, the South Main Street project, and purchases of new vehicles for the police department, fire department, and the transfer station. Following that discussion, the board met with Fawn Gaudette with her request to have Columbus Day changed to Indigenous Peoples Day here in New Hampshire. The board then held a follow-up discussion with Fawn Gaudette, and the board voted to recognize the change of Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples Day for the town of Plymouth. The meeting opened up with a long-term project updates on the Invest 603 HOP grant and the Stormwater Asset Management Program.
We submitted an application to the Invest 603 HOP grant, Housing Opportunities Planning Grant.
As a housing focused grant, it is important to get people involved who do have a stake in the housing market in Plymouth.
Following that, the second public hearing for $134,000 from the Housing Planning Opportunity Grant.
Yeah, I would just like to support the acceptance of these grants.
I'll make a motion to accept the $134,000 for the Housing Planning Opportunity Grant.
All those in favor? Aye.
Thursday night, the planning board held a special meeting to accommodate a consultant for the Housing Opportunity Program. The board welcomed Judy Barrett from Barrett Planning Group, who over the last few days has met and interviewed members of the community to help better understand the concerns for the town. Additionally, the planning board has announced a community meeting regarding the Housing Opportunity Program for its April 6th meeting. This meeting will take place in the cafeteria at the elementary school starting at 6:30 p.m. The planning board also announced the next community meeting date regarding the housing study. The meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, June 7th at 6:30 p.m. The planning board held their second community meeting on Wednesday night, also at Bobcat Cafe at the high school. During the meeting, the Barrett Planning Group gave a presentation going over the data they received from the interviews that were conducted, as well as the housing survey study and what the next steps are moving forward. The town clerk's office announced that filing for municipal offices will open on January 25th. There are several spots open, including 2 seats on the town select board. At the auditorium at the high school, the town held the Meet the Candidates night for the upcoming town election. For select board, Zachary Terrell, Malik Hammond, and Marianne Barnsley. For the Pemmy Baker School Board, Lisa Ash is running. And for the elementary school board, Fran Gonzalez and Sam Goff. The following day, on Tuesday, March 14th, was town election day. The voting hours went from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. at the elementary school gymnasium. The results of the election were then announced the following night at town meeting.
For select board, Zachary Terrell, 273, and Marianne Barnsley, 290, and I declare Marianne Barnsley and Zachary Terrell duly elected. For moderator, 377 votes, that would be me. Carol Garrity for treasurer was 366 votes. For cemetery trustee, Mark Halloran, 366, and Nick Mason had 3. Trustee of trust funds, Michael Curria had 22, and Sarah Terrell had 4. Enough for positions. And for library trustee, Joyce Weston had 38. Doug Grant had 281. And then the third person was James Coran with 47. They are duly elected.
Additionally, after receiving 243 votes, Tom McLaughlin was sworn in as a new commissioner for a 3-year term. McLaughlin takes a seat on the board held by Judy DeLeo. DeLeo sat on the board for 24 years but decided not to run for the position again this year. Board member Chris Woods read a resolution recognizing DeLeo for her hard work and contributions to the water and sewer district for nearly a quarter century.
Yes, I'd like to read a resolution. Whereas Judy DeLeo has served as commissioner of the Plymouth Village Water and Sewer District since 1999, and whereas she has consistently given freely of her time and talents to provide oversight and direction in pursuit of organizational excellence and sustainability, and whereas Judy has filled the role of commissioner with civility, diligence, honor, good humor, and integrity throughout her tenure on the board, now therefore be it resolved that those who are gathered at this 2023 annual district meeting, that we extend an official vote of thanks and appreciation to Judy for her service, commitment, and caring for our district. And be it further resolved that a record of this resolution shall be permanently inscribed in the official records of the district, so that future generations may know of her service and contribution.
The new town website launched yesterday morning. This is a project that's been in the work for the last few months, and we are proud to finally have it available to the public. The new design offers more sleek and easily to understand format to help you find whatever you are looking for. Be sure to check it out at www.plymouth-nh.org.
Following the approval, the board entered a rather heated discussion on the topic of the town accepting ownership of Showerton Lane, Ski Lift Road, and Point of View Drive, and whether or not they have the power to approve such.
Concession of the road to the town is a select board issue, and our goal here is to kind of clean up some loose ends with an old approval that hasn't quite gotten all the loose ends tied up.
Why doesn't this board just give approval for the support staff to make sure everything's on there that's necessary, and then give you the approval to sign it when it's done, so that it can go to the select board and get this town road approved?
I do believe we will do our diligence to move this forward as quickly as possible. It's not our intent to tie anything up.
The last major item during the planning board meeting was a continuation of a public hearing from Jeff Hiltz with complaints from the public. The board held another public hearing regarding Jeff Hiltz. The first of these hearings was a continuation of the Frontenac hearing, which has now been ongoing for several months. Back at Town Hall, the board continued the Frontenac development hearing. Applicant Jeff Hiltz was present for the meeting and gave the board some updates and a timeline for when the roads will hopefully be completed. Given the new information, the board voted to once again continue the hearing to mid-June. The select board met for a rare Thursday night work session to finalize and read the warrant articles related to the 2023-24 town budget. The other 24 articles were voted on unanimously for the select board's recommendation. Town meeting was held this past Wednesday, March 15th, also in the elementary school gymnasium. This year, there were a total of 29 warrant articles up for a vote, and all 29 of them passed, including the 6 zoning amendment articles conducted on town voting day. The major articles passed included the solar array project, the South Main Street project, and purchases of new vehicles for the police department, fire department, and the transfer station. In a sparsely attended meeting, the Water and Sewer District met. There were 7 warrant articles up for voting this year, including Main Street Phase 1 water line project. All 7 articles passed unanimously 9-0. Being opened with a report from Town Manager Scott Whedon, then moved into discussion for the tax collection policies and procedures review. Mr. Whedon presented new tax policies to the board with the intent of implementing them here in the town very soon.
We met with Linda Buffington, tax collector, with regards to the policy and the subsequent documents that you have in this package. It completely follows the statutes in regards to Chapter 80 on the collection of taxes.
I'll make a motion that we accept and approve the tax collection policies and procedures as outlined in the packet.
All those in favor?
Aye.
That same night at 7 p.m., the zoning board met for its monthly meeting, where the board received a request for special exemption from the North Country Development Group to build an elevator for ADA accessibility at the Tenny Mountain Resort.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It's unanimous. The application is denied.
The final of the 3 public hearings was a site plan application for the new Tenny Mountain Ski Resort. The public had many comments for both the applicant and the board, and even called on the applicant to have the surrounding roads that lead to the resort repaired, as they are in very rough condition. The board ended up giving conditional approval to the applicant so they might begin construction in time for the resort to be open next ski season. Plymouth is a tight-knit community. The townspeople look out for each other and regularly engage in the town municipality to voice their opinions on what they think Plymouth should be. Now we'll take a look back at all the big events that have happened in our community this past year. Local music legend Anatole Annie Paquette from Annie and the Orphans will be performing his final show ever at the Sandwich Fair on October 10th. Despite the rainy weather, it was a great turnout for the 2022 hometown holiday celebration. From the nearly 100 participants in the 11th annual PES Jingle Bell 5K to the holiday parade on Main Street, everyone seemed to be having a great time supporting local businesses, charities, and celebrating the holiday season. The last major item on the agenda was an update from Fire Chief Tom Morrison and Deputy Chief Kevin Pierce with the Needs Assessment Committee. The committee will be looking into bringing a third-party firm on board to help complete the assessment on both the fire and police stations and see exactly what both are needed to bring them up to code and what the next steps will be. We start this week's episode off with some sad news. The Plymouth community lost a legend this week. Tom Underwood served in the SAU 48 community for over 40 years as a coach, teacher, and administrator. Tom was the winningest coach in New Hampshire high school baseball history with over 500 wins and was also a great mentor to countless in our community. Our thoughts are with the Underwood family, and we would like to say thank you, Coach, and now you can rest easy. PRHS Baseball is hosting Kingswood this morning for a special game honoring the late Tom Underwood. Pre-game ceremony will start at 10:30 a.m. with first pitch around 11 o'clock. Former Plymouth police officer Detective Sergeant Barry Tanner sadly passed away on March 23rd due to medical complications. A funeral procession was held for Detective Sergeant Tanner this past Thursday afternoon. The procession began at the New Hampton Police Department, making its way through Bristol and downtown Plymouth and concluding at the Owl's Nest Resort in Thornton. Our thoughts and prayers are with the family and the entire law enforcement community as we all mourn his loss. Friday, March 17th marks the one-year anniversary of the passing of Luke Besson. Luke was a student attending Plymouth Regional High School and was a part of the class of 2022. Luke was a kind soul who loved the outdoors and spending his free time at the weight room in the high school. In honor of him, the high school will be hosting a Gray Out Day event for Luke.
It was also announced that Jason Randall, superintendent of Plymouth Village Water and Sewer, was accepted into the Environmental Finance Center Network's Water Leadership Program. There have only been 38 other members accepted into this program across 20 states, with Jason being the sole representative from across all of New England.
Moving on to this week's announcements, in an effort to keep the community informed, the town has launched a new digital newsletter. New issues will be emailed on Fridays to those who have signed up. Each week there will be updates and important information about the construction projects happening downtown, updates from the town manager, plus recaps and announcements of upcoming events. To sign up, please visit the town website at www.plymouth-nh.org, where you can find the sign-up form next to the news and public notices section on the main page. The Recreation Department, in partnership with CG Studios, revealed their new logo and branding this past week. It was announced via Facebook with a message saying, quote, "We are excited to launch our new brand. Our new look captures the geography and vibes of our wonderful home. We promote play and create connections in Plymouth, New Hampshire." Josie Ewing has resigned as the Plymouth town clerk and will be making a career move to work for the town of Lebanon, New Hampshire. Thank you, Josie, for all that you've done for our town, and we wish you the best of luck in your career. Between the elementary school, Plymouth Regional High School, and Plymouth State University, Plymouth is an educational hotspot here in the Lakes region. They are also an important part of our community. So here's a look back at everything that has happened since the beginning of this past school year. A reminder that next Friday, October 7th, it's the first ever night game for the Bobcats football team. PRHS will be hosting a Gray Out event in honor of the late Luke Besson from the class of 2022. The game will be against Guilford Belmont and will kick off at 7 p.m. Be sure to attend in person and wear gray.
Controversy strikes at PRHS with the formation of the Bobcats for Life Club, a pro-life group formed by students. Mr. Parsons and Superintendent Kyla Welch updated the board this past Tuesday, October 4th, on how the creation of this group has affected the school atmosphere.
Mr. Parsons, this group, including myself, Lucy Boachman, Lindsay Miller, Molly Hazelton, Isabella Rossner, and Caitlin Hatch are currently speaking to you as I read this. I would like to let you know how we are feeling regarding this new Bobcats for Life Club that has had its debut on Wednesday, September 28th of 2022. We are disappointed, disgusted, and saddened that this is allowed in PRHS.
I was proud to be a Bobcat. I'm not today.
And I just want to stand up and just say that I would really encourage you to think about the ramifications of thinking that the majority of people, if they dislike an idea, what would happen if in our society historically they had been allowed to minimize the other group?
After the allegations from last meeting, Principal Parsons conducted an investigation to see if the controversial pro-life club that recently formed at the school had been disturbing the education. After finding no evidence of such, the board approved the club with a caveat that the name be changed from the Bobcats for Life to Voices for Life.
Moving forward in the meeting, Kyla Welch informed the board of her decision to remove remote days from the curriculum, which means snow days are back on the table.
On Tuesday, December 6th, the Plymouth Baker School Board met at the high school. The meeting began with some controversy regarding the transgendered student joining the girls' basketball team. The public hearing began with resident Matthew Boyd talking about the issue for a 15-minute span and refusing to stop multiple times after being asked to by the board. Other members of the public spoke out in support of allowing the student to play on the team, with the parents of the student reaching out to the board to provide help to them if need be. After concluding the meeting, the board moved downstairs to begin the budget hearing for the 2023-24 school year. Throughout the meeting, the board was met with concerns about the increased rate for the next school year. Although the budget process has been going on for months, the board voted on and approved a special meeting to be scheduled on January 17th at 5 p.m.
I would move that the administration rework the budget to come in no higher than 3.5%.
So that would mean decreasing the proposed budget by $167,800.
Okay, so Peter?
Yes.
Phil?
Yes.
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 Greg? Yes. Lauren? Paul?
Yes.
First of which being the Plymouth Baker Regional School Board, where they hosted both regular board meeting and a deliberative session. All three warrant articles will be going to the town to vote on in March after a quick 8-minute deliberative session. Taking a look at PRHS sports now, congratulations to the wrestling team who captured the NHIAA Division III State Championship for the 4th time in a row. It's the first time any team has won 4 straight titles. The winter season has wrapped up for Plymouth Regional High School athletics. And the wrestling team wrapped up its season over the past 2 weekends at the Meet of Champions and at the New England's Championships. Congratulations to Haley Demers, who is the state's first ever female champion at 126 pounds. This was the first year that the NHIAA has held an all-girls division at the Meet of Champions. Matt Cleary and Emmett Nossaman represented the Bobcats at New England's last weekend. Both went 2-2 during the tournament. Their finishes gave Plymouth a top 12 finish in the region. At the PRHS school board meeting, Principal Parsons announced that the music director, Will Gunn, received the Choral Director of the Year award from the state. The high school also launched a new athletic website, which all the games and meets are listed on their schedule. You can visit the new site at prhsbobcats.bigteams.com. And the board approved a 10-cent increase to the breakfast and lunch prices. This is to follow the federal government's goal to have schools charge the same amount that they are reimbursing the schools to prevent them from covering students that do not qualify for the National School Lunch Program. Just as the elementary school did, the board approved the increase into the prices of the lunch and breakfast programs at the high school by the 10 cents, bringing the price for breakfast up to $1.85 and $3.10 for lunches. Also approved by the board was the removal of lockers within PRHS, as students are no longer using them to store their supplies, and it will provide more space in the hallways between classes. 200 of the lockers will be left over and available for students who wish to use one. All others will be replaced with new display cases. We recap the spring postseason for PRHS. Girls tennis dropped a close 5-4 match to Trinity in the quarterfinals back on May 25th. Boys tennis fell just short of a repeat as state champions after dropping a nail-biter to Kearsarge 5-4 on May 30th. The boys lacrosse team saw its season come to a close last Saturday in the quarterfinals. The Bobcats dropped a tough game 13-4 to Hopkinton. Lastly, the Cinderella story continues for the 8th-seeded baseball team as they punched a ticket to the state championship game after a thrilling come-from-behind 8-7 win over Kingswood on Wednesday night in Concord. It's the first time since 2014 that the Bobcats have made it to the championship game. The Bobcats look to capture the school's 4th state title in program history when they battle second-seeded Hollis Brookline at 4 p.m. at Northeast Delta Dental Stadium in Manchester. The board also approved $20,000 to be used for the redesigning of the middle school bathrooms to be more individual bathrooms resembling what the high school has done for more privacy. In the principal's report, Tanya Orlando announced that the 8th grader Iris Lamoureux competed at last week's Scripps Spelling Bee in Washington, D.C. and made it to the second round. Congratulations to Iris and her amazing achievements. The last two items that were announced are the official mascot of Plymouth Elementary School is now the Cats. No longer will there be confusion if it's the Cats or the Cubs. It's amazing to see everything that has happened here in Plymouth since last July. And here at PBTV, we are dedicated to providing you coverage of events across town. Our studio and equipment is also available to all members of the station, giving you the power to create your own content. If you're interested in collaborating with us or have an idea of your own for a show, please reach out to us at the information on your screen. Visit our website to learn more about what PBTV has to offer. Thank you for watching and join us for a new season of This Week in Plymouth coming soon.